Pimpology, Pimpin, and Karen Hunter. All right. The 48 Laws of the Game. And we are on 34. Show respect to get respect. Excuse me. You've been rolling with me. You know I use for the B word female, and for the Nigga word I use Negro. All right. Negro, respect the game. That should be it. That should be it. What you eat don't make me Jay-Z, heart of the city. They call me the godfather of the game. Even the police respect me. Fillmore Slim. The life. When I was young, one of the things the old players used to say is, boy, respect your elders. I always obeyed this law, but the one day it came into question, I was in my after-hours spot in Milwaukee on the east side. And this older pimp associate of mine was in there drunk and acting way out of pimp mode. Young punk, you ain't no pimp, he said to me. I heard all your females are on your payroll. This was a real insult because what he was saying was that I was paying my hoes, which is a no-no. Now, I'm not going to lie, this was one of the most confusing incidents of my career. I was taught to never disrespect the OGs, but this washed-up player was out of bounds. Say, man, you are going from a pimpaholic to an alcoholic, I said. I know they say the liquor is quicker and you may be looking for a fast ride to the senior citizen home, but you need to get a hammer and hit your pimpin' in the head until your pimpin' falls dead, old ass Negro. You ain't heard this because your old ass is game impaired. And for the record, Hank Aaron era ass Negro, if I pay a hoe, it's with the money I just checked from that hoe. At this point, my man Pimpin' Poke jumped in. Young pimp, you wrong for disrespecting this veteran pimp like that. He said to me, take it easy, greasy. I looked at Pimpin' Poke. I couldn't believe what he was saying. Did he miss the whole scene? Before I could open my mouth, OG put his foot in his mouth again. We don't need no referee, he said. Poke looked at this lost case. Man, what's the matter? You ain't got no threads left on those Goodyear ties. Yeah, man, I said. Back then was a hen and used to was a mother effing rooster. If he don't get with the here and now, I'm going to take his shine and on this old ass Negro with this young ass pimpin'. Years later, when I became a veteran pimp, I had a few young boys try their hands at disrespecting me. I knew there was the Pepsi generation, but they couldn't F with a Coke Classic. One day I was on the track with my man JD, and this upstart fresh sucker tried to challenge me. He pulled up in his new S600 Benz looking real fly. Who's the most pimpinest Negro on the track? He boldly asked. Why you want to know? JD popped back. I'm looking to knock him for every female he has, the sucker said. Ain't nothing but veteran pimps here, homie, JD was trying to warn him. What are you saying? All I can say is that there is a big pimpin' in town, and I'm coming for that MFing crown. I was quiet, just watching this dude with his chest puffed out. But he said that while I looked at JD and winked. It was a signal that it was time to coon this MFer. Cooning was a common practice among veteran pimps, where they worked together to teach a disrespectful mother effer a lesson. The plan was for JD to pretend to be cool with this dude so he would be able to get me a rundown of all of his hoes. I told him I want you to tell me how many hoes this buster has, and if you can, see if he will give you any information on those hoes. By the time I was ready for my first mission, JD had found out which hoe would be easy to knock. I rolled up on this toe on the track and I started sweating her. Thanks to JD, I knew her name, where she was from, and I was even able to tell her that she got her beaten 2 days before. The hoe chose up because she knew her Negro was slipping. Once I got inside his household with the first hoe, the rest was easy. I asked her which of the remaining two was the weaker one. Brittany, the tall blonde, she told me. I asked her who Brittany's favorite artist, and she told me it was Tupac. For 3 days straight, I drove up to her on the track, blasting me against the world, and all eyes on me with my windows down. Finally, after the third day, the host spoke. How do you know I like Tupac with your fine ass? She asked. After I served this young pimpin' for 2 females, he'd had enough. He was out of town before sundown, but I still wasn't satisfied. I wasn't done making him pay for his disrespect. I had JD call old boy and find out where he was with his third hoe. I found out that he was in Las Vegas. I packed up my most trusted hoe and sent her on a plane to Vegas with specific instructions. She caught up with dude's hoe at Caesars. Caesar sounds good right about now. My hoe told her how pretty she was, how she was looking for a new daddy, and that she wanted to choose her fine ass man. The other hoe didn't have a clue that she was being set up. For 2 weeks, my hoe worked her way into old boy's stable. She got real close with his hoe, flipped her, brought her a plane ticket, and had her on the next thing smoking back to Milwaukee. As is customary, when I had the hoe in my possession, I called dude to serve him the news. Negro, don't you ever try to outshine a vet, I told him. What you need to do is go back to your past and let this pimpin' kick you in your ass. The ism. If a pimp keeps it 100% at all times and shows love for the game, he has my utmost respect. If he disrespects this game, I don't care how much of an OG he is. I don't have any respect for a lame. But if you can, you should try to give respect even when you feel it's undeserved, because it can go a long way. No one wants to be shown up. It's embarrassing and humiliating, and they will seek revenge. The best rule of thumb is to treat people the way you want to be treated, at least to their faces. And this beautiful picture of Tupac. Yes. Law 35. Trust nothing but the game. Where large sums of money are concerned, it is advisable to trust nobody. Agatha Christie. My money's my honey, in God we trust, tattooed on her tummy. Chamillionaire, me and my money. A picture of Chamillionaire. The life. I had this discussion with my man Jay, who I had known for years. He always kept it real with me. He told me that he had a girl, but he was effing her sister whenever his girl went to work. Why would you F with your girl's sister? I asked him. The female trusts me like a mother effer, he said. How does her sister feel about this? Her sister has been effing all of her men from the last 10 years, he told me. That's a nasty female, I said. Give me her number. You know what? He gave it to me. I spit some game, and she was down with me. I never trusted her, though, and for good reason. One day I was having a barbecue at my house, and my homie came by. We were really close. I was outside with everybody, and I noticed that this hoe was nowhere in sight. I didn't care where she was, as long as she was getting some paper. Then I noticed that my friend was gone too, and I finally had to investigate. I found that hoe in my house, effing my homie for free. Now, I knew she was capable of anything, but my friend was my main man. I checked both of them and made them get the F out my house. This gave me a new perspective, and I changed my style a bit. Okay. No Negro was allowed to speak to my hoes, and my hoes weren't allowed to look at anyone unless it was about some paper. Oh my, I'm in tears. I'm crying. Ooh wee. Yes. My disgust started to spread when I was just hanging out. I kept my guard up and I only gave information on a need to know basis. I could be in town for years and Negroes wouldn't even know I was there. When a young brother came to see me for some game, I would feed him some bullcrap because I didn't trust anyone. I thought everyone would just use whatever game I gave them against me, and after my own homeboy pulled that bull crap, I wasn't giving anyone an opportunity to take anything from me again. I would test the people around me, my hoes and my homies, by leaving money in certain places around certain people to see if they would steal it. One time I left a large sum in my truck to test a certain person. You know who they are. They fell with flying colors, but I never said a word. This was someone I thought I could trust, but I had learned that you can't trust anyone in this game. Boy, now that's the truth right there. The ism. There is not a person on this earth over the age of 18 who has not been crossed by someone they trusted. This was more than likely a person they shared everything with because it's usually the people closest to you who have the ability to hurt you the most. Believe it or not, even your family could be the ones to take you out. They know the most, and as we say in this game, knowledge is power. The power can work against you too. Money doesn't know love. When you're doing business, it's best to put nothing by anyone. People are funny when it comes to money, and trust is a commodity that you just can't afford. Pimps, Players, Hustlers, National Pimp Association logo. The Source magazine with Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg, and Dre on the cover. That need to be on the walls, hanging up somewhere. I thank them for this lovely book. Yes. Law 36. Be internationally known, nationally recognized, and locally accepted. From Frisco to Maine and all the way to Spain, RP. The life. As a young man, I thought I was doing the damn thing, but the old local heads were still constantly grooming me. They knew that eventually I would have to get out of town and really put it down. About 15 years ago, I was in the local after-hours club. A bunch of us were sitting at a table shooting the shit. One veteran pimp, Tommy Dixon, was roasting a young up-and-coming pimp named JB. He was a live nigger with about 5 Cadillacs and 7 hoes. He was always jacking about his success as a pimp. Tommy interrupted JP and said, "Boy, you're crazy if you think I'm going to respect your local pimping. Negro, I done pimped all over the world and have a hoe in Japan right now getting my dough." All GB could say was, "Man, my hoes give me my money right here in Milwaukee just the same." I was sharp enough as a young pimp to know how the old vets were. I would be next, so I acted like I was going to get me a drink, but Tommy peeped me. "Young pimp, where are you going?" he said, stopping me in my tracks. I had to think quickly. "Negro, I'm going to the phone to tell my female in New York to get to a Western Union and wire me the whole money she been stacking," I said boldly. Old Tommy looked at me like he wanted to whoop my young butt, but one thing he knew, just like I couldn't prove he didn't have a hoe in Japan, he couldn't prove that I didn't have a hoe in New York. Okay, stop. All right. From that time, I have been just about everywhere in the world. I basically lived on the road. I went to 50 states and put it down. Looking back, I can truly say that hitting the road was one of the best things that ever happened to me because I had the chance to meet all types of people. When I was in Los Angeles, I met a guy named Dooley. We were at a movie set doing a film with rapper Mac 10. Dooley was a boss player, and he had an after-hour spot on Crenshaw. "I heard a lot about you," Dooley said, "and from what I heard, you're a nice pimp." "Yeah, it depends on who you talk to," I said. "I'm all right. I'm okay." "I see you be in LA a lot," he said. "Why don't you come on down to my after-hour spot when you get off the set?" "Shh," I said. "I'm finished now. Let's go." When we got to the joint, I was there for 20 minutes. When Shaka Khan and the rapper Drew Down walked in, they both came over and spoke to me, and that really impressed Dooley. I wished old Tom I wish old Tommy Dixon could have seen me then. I'd have said to him, things have changed since back in the day. I stay in pimp mode and I've got 52 zip codes. The ism. Had I stayed only in Milwaukee, there would never be a pimpin' kin. I think back to those old pimps and I wonder if they ever knew what it's like to be written about in French, Japanese, Spanish, and Yoruba. Come through, baby. Okay. French, Japanese, Spanish, and Yoruba. Nice. When you're local, the game goes in a circle and everybody knows the same shit. If people see your ass every day, you get too familiar and the things you do don't seem special. You don't have a victorious homecoming if you never left in the first place. That's just like the Bible. They didn't appreciate him where he was at. Okay. Picture of Flavor Flav. Law 17, let a hoe know. Got a picture of the entertainer here. She's looking nice. We know she entertaining. Okay. It ain't matrimony. It's macaroni. Kenny read. The Life. About 9 years ago, I was at Magic City, a famous strip club in Atlanta. A very nice strip club, by the way. A stripper asked me, do you want to dance? What did you say? Am I from France? No. Do you want to dance? Yeah, I said, put that money in my pants. You a pimp, ain't you? She asked. You a hoe, ain't you? I shot back. Hell no, she said, indignant. I'm an entertainer. Okay, hoe, I said. Well, go entertain then. Why'd you ask me if I was a hoe? Because you are a hoe, I told her. You're on the low end of hoeing, tiptoeing, and for dollar tips, which ain't shit. Okay, your hoe sell pussy and make, your hoe sell punani, excuse my French, and make more money. She said, but what are those hoes going to do if they catch AIDS? You talking about germs and diseases, but you walking around here with no clothes on, I said. Real hoes practice safe sex and get it in advance. If females like you take a chance. It's females like you who take a chance. And she walked away, she bent over. Don't you want some of this good punani? She asked. Yeah, female, to sell. She laughed and then went around and told the whole club that I was a pimp. For the rest of the night, those strippers knew to keep their distance unless they had some assistance. One came up to me just before the club closed. She asked me for a tip. I said, if I tip you, I have to pimp you. She got mad and said, you can't pay a female. Female, I am paying you. I am paying you no attention. Well, can't you buy a female a drink? Sure, female, I said, with your money. She finally left, but after she got dressed, she came back and said, I like your style. What does a female have to do to get with your pimping? Sock it to my pocket like a rocket. Martina says the same thing, sock it to my pocket. Hold on. I had to take a brief moment. Maybe it don't mean anything. Martini, who was with Kenny read, her saying was sock it to a pocket. Sock it to a beat pocket. And so his is sock it to my pocket like a rocket. Anyway, might not mean a thing at all. I'm gonna keep reading. She reached in her purse, pulled out $800 and said, I choose, but only because you didn't try to play me. The ism, when a hoe comes up to a man, she's trying to get him to spend some money. A pimp has to let her know from the door that it's not going to be a party like that with him. If she's effing with him, she's the one who will have to pay. If he doesn't let her know, she will be coming at him like she would a trick. If she does know and yet she's still in a pimp's face, then they both know he's about to add another hoe to his stable. Be upfront about who you are and what your intentions are. If your targets stay, they are yours. If they don't, they weren't ever going to be. Hoes really want your money. Yes, absolutely. Okay. That's why we're going through this whole book. Thank you so much, Pimpin Ken and Karen Hunter, for spitting the game so we know what the aim is and we're not in the wilderness. Thank you, baby. Behind every successful person lies a pack of haters. Well said. Law 38, wreck a hater. Never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake. Oh, John Milton. This is beautiful. I need to know this. It's a cold world, so homie, bundle up. Lil Wayne. Hustler music. The life. A few years back, there was a certain individual who was really on my game. He was trying hard to destroy me. At this time, I was on all kinds of albums and I had a few movies on the market, so people wanted to hear what this guy was saying. The first thing I did was keep my mouth shut so that he wouldn't gain any momentum. Okay. I went and found everyone who knew this Negro and asked them what they knew about him. Once I got my ammunition, I stepped to this Negro and asked him politely to stop on my name. He tried to diss me in front of some big pimps. I could tell from their faces that they were taking sides, but this too was part of my plan. I wanted him to look like he was a big old pimp. I wanted all of those suckers who believed that was spreading to get caught up too. I walked away looking like I was defeated. After I left, he said, "See, I told you. That Negro Ken is a buster. I know this because I had spies in the crowd." Someone else said, "Yeah, the man didn't even try to defend his rep. What they didn't know was that I was building his confidence to keep talking. So when I did bring his monkey down, all those niggers who were on his would feel like fools." They would feel like they had been played by him, and after that they wouldn't F with him ever again. I called a good friend of mine who the Negro thought was cool with him. I invited this Mark and a few other top players to a Super Bowl party at this major club. I knew my friend would bring that simp too. I waited for just about every pimp in the country to show up before I let his ass have it. I waited until the appointed time when I had everyone's attention. I reminded all of the guys who I had known for years that this buster was new on the scene. He had only had 5 years in the game. I told him that he got into the game by giving all the leaking broke pimps money to speak highly of him. That's how he got his reputation. He paid for it. A few of them nodded as they listened, but I wasn't finished. Then I hit them with the big revelation. "This Negro is an FBI informant," I said. "He's a mother effing snitch." The whole crowd looked at him and said, "Pimp, is that truth?" He was stunned. He had no idea that I had this information and he couldn't say shh. One thing about the game, if people find out something about you that you have been hiding, then they will think that everything you've said to them has been a lie. In the case of this mother effer, all of those pimps who were hanging out with him all of a sudden started worrying about what they had said to this Negro that could get them locked up. I caught everyone off guard. Everyone was effed up now, and the pimp's career was officially over. He was done. And more important, everybody knew not to F with Ken, the ism. You'll meet people who just don't like you, and they'll do whatever they can to stop your groove. In the streets, you can handle the problem in many different ways. You can shoot the mother effer and spend the rest of your life in jail. Or maybe someone who knew him will come back and kill you. I never use violence because pimping is a mind game for me. I may destroy someone, but he'll be okay. He just won't have a career when I'm through. I'll try my best to put that person out of commission or do them so bad they don't want any more. As I've always said, all's fair in love, war, and pimping. It's a cold game, but it's a fair game. If someone is throwing dirt at you, find out as much dirt on them as you can and bury them in it. Keeping your mouth closed is a good starting tactic because it makes the other person seem like he is babbling. Babble, like he's just hating on you. Then you need spies in the game who stay up on the haters and keep you posted on what's being said. If your spies dig deep enough, they can find things in anyone's past that they don't want known. Once you have this information, you shut your enemies down, but make sure that they never see it coming. Picture of Paul Wall. I like Paul Wall. Nice man. That he's on one of Jill's songs. I'd have to look it up. It's been a minute since I listened to it. Not looking it up right now, though. Okay. When I get finished. Law 39. Switch up. It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change, Charles Darwin. And if I flop, I switch the hustle, I learn the game, and then set up shop, Paul Wall, riding dirty. Okay. The life. My daddy was the master of reinventing himself, and the same day he would be in the street breaking Negroes all afternoon and then come home and be a father, taking us to the movies and spending time with my mother. He would go as far as to work square construction jobs. By the time I was 14, I was able to understand how my pops could take a break from the street life and chill. One day I asked him what was really going on. Why was he going through all these changes? The streets are like the jungle, he said. Sometimes you have to be a lion and attack the prey, but sometimes you have to camouflage to survive. One day they may see me in a suit, the next day they may see me with a construction hat, he told me. This is why they call me Johnny Slick, because they can't peep my game. All through my pimp career, I was a very flashy dresser. After I did Pimps Up, Hoes Down, I became a filmmaker. I reinvented my style and this turned the pimp world upside down and kept them talking about pimpin' Ken, the ism. Any pimp who doesn't switch up will lose his hoes. Hoes are funny. Once they get used to you, learn your game, and get comfortable, they don't respond the same way. A pimp must switch his jewels, cars, minks, and style every now and then. He has to keep a hoe on her toes by staying on his. He has to turn that 500 Benz into a 600 Benz, that mint jacket into a full-length chinchilla, and 3-carat diamond pinky ring into a 5-carat. If you don't get brand new, people will think you fell off. Anyone who stays the same is in a rut, and you have to make changes to stay ahead of the game. You have to keep people wondering what you're going to come up with next. Law 40. Let's see here. Ooh, I'm almost done. Don't down them, crown them. There's no such thing as bad publicity except your own obituary. Brendan B. Hahn. When someone says Rosebud's a mother effer, that's the highest compliment you can get because they've run out of adjectives. Rosebud. Funny. The life. My man Aquarius always has something bad to say about the other pimps. If I had said something like, that dude is a real pimp, he's got a new Benz and 3 hoes, Aquarius would say, man, that Negro sells dope on the side, he ain't no pimp. If I said, I just kicked it with Pimpin LB and he gave me some real game, Aquarius would say, F dude, he can't even keep a hoe. How's he going to teach on a hoe? Aquarius was a hater. There was always something hate going on with him. The funny thing was the other pimps were no better. Everyone was hating on everyone else. I knew that as long as I stayed on top, the pimps would always try to put my pimpin' down. Pimps would tell their hoes that I was a drug dealer and that I made deals with hoes so I would look like a fake pimp. The thing they didn't know was that the more they hated on me, the more a hoe wanted to see for herself if what they said was true. One day in the club, this hoe saw me and kept looking. Finally, I went up to her and ran a usual line. Damn, baby, you so fine, your mama should have made triplets. Really? Was that the line? She fell for it? She was already looking. Okay, whatever. If she did, what would you have done with us, she said. I would be 3 deep and put all of you females down, I told her. Hold up, she said. Are you trying to say you're a pimp now? Apparently she had heard something different about me from her pimp. Listen, you out-of-pocket female, I was born a pimp, I told her. I ought to put a charge on you for talking to me this long. Sir, I think you're a very sexy man and one of the best dressers in town, she said. But all your friends said you are not a pimp. That's why I wanted to see about you for myself. Female, if I'm so handsome, pay my ransom. What's your choosing fee, she asked. With that, she chose up and broke herself, and I had to serve her former pimp the news that blew his fuse. OMG. The ism, hating is so much a part of the game that long after I got out, people were still hating on me. The more they hate, the more people want to know if what is being said is true. It keeps them interested. Thank God for the haters. If they didn't hate, no one would care who Pimpin' Ken is, but that didn't mean I wasn't going to return the favor. If people are hating on you, it means you must be doing something right. The only time people have something to say about you is if you're doing big things, if you're a somebody. The more people talk about you, good or bad, the more people want to know about you. When you hate on others, you make them the star on stage while you're just a critic in the audience. Woo! Hello, Law 40. There's a picture of P. Diddy with his shirt off and the crosses on his chest. There's a picture of Pitbull. Law 41. Keep your front up till you come up. Come up. We're going to keep our spirits up, and that's going to make us winners right there. Scorpio. The life. Years ago, I was in Vegas, and I had 4 hoes with me. We were getting plenty of money, but I had a very bad gambling problem. Vegas was the worst place I could be. I couldn't seem to win for nothing. For 3 months, I was getting my handed to me at blackjack and roulette tables. Somehow, I was smart enough not to spend the money we needed to live on. I always took care of the basics, but had nothing left for flossing and treating my host to shopping sprees, which would have been my norm. I didn't know how I kept them in the dark for so long, but one thing I can tell you, I dressed up every night and talked cash money. You hoes are making so much money. I paid a Brinks truck $500 just to take our money back to Milwaukee, I told them. I had to come up with a story to explain why the money in Vegas was short. So you hoes get ready, because we're going shopping for a whole week when we get back to Milwaukee. Finally, my luck at the tables turned, and I started winning. I was able to make back much of what I had lost, so I really could take them shopping when we got back. Even at my lowest, I would put on my mink gaiters and jewels, get in my freshest whip and parade around. In my mind, if I looked like the perfect pimp, a hoe would stay choosing. There have been many times that when things weren't right, but I kept myself up until I was able to come up.